Glad to have you here. Thank you. My name is Ramon Urbano. I'm president of the Woodland League of Women Voters. And welcome to tonight's forum. And it is being televised, so you can tell your friends and neighbors to take a look. Thank you. So you may know that the League was founded in 1920, just 6 months before the 19th Amendment was ratified. And women won the vote. Yay. It was formed by suffragists. The League began as a mighty political experiment designed to help women carry out new responsibilities as voters. Today, the League mission is to invite all citizens to participate in voting and government actively and with good information. In addition to our voter education and advocacy programs, we sponsor candidate forums like this. Woodland TV is here now, streaming this event and recording it, so it will be available online. We'll introduce you to the candidates for the Woodland Joint Unified School District Board, Area 2, at this time, of its 7 districts. The Area 1 candidate, Deborah Bautista Zavala, is unopposed. Our forum for Area 7 starts at 7:20 in this room. The challenging candidate for Area 6, Garrett Wright, chose not to participate. As a result, incumbent Morgan Childers withdrew to allow the forum to move ahead. In keeping with our nonpartisan position, the League of Women Voters follows the empty seat rule not to appear to endorse any candidate, and Woodland Joint Unified School District could not provide the facility unless all candidates for an area could participate. And now, I will introduce Ramon Urbano. He is also a League member. This evening, he is serving as moderator of the forum. Ramon is a native of Woodland, and he devotes his free time to serving the local community. All yours.
Thank you, Karen. First of all, welcome everyone, and it's great to see all of you. I would like to share the following. Let's start with the California School Board Association's description of the role of the school board members, who are locally elected public officials entrusted with governing the community's public schools. Their role is, and I have the following, to set the direction for the school district, establish an effective and efficient organizational structure, support staff, ensure accountability, and provide community leadership as advocates for students, the school district, and public schools. We have a map coming up on the screen. That map shows Area 2, which is downtown Woodland. A complete map is available on the Woodland Joint Unified School District website. We are joined tonight by the 2 candidates for Area 2, Jake Whitaker and Emily Mcdonald. Jake is an incumbent school board member currently serving a 2nd consecutive year as the board president. He currently manages a grant writing practice that supports public agencies pursuing funding for large-scale infrastructure projects and service programs. He grew up in Woodland and graduated from Woodland High School, and he is passionate about serving his community. Emily McDonald, the challenger, is married, has 2 children, or 2 girls, same thing, I guess, right? Runs a family business. She has served on the board of Friends of the Woodland Public Library and as a library trustee. I get a little feedback here. I don't know. But anyhow, she served on the Woodland Parent Nursery School Board and the 21-22 Yolo County Grand Jury. She is passionate about literacy, parent education, and a family-first approach to education. Now, the forum. That's annoying. Does that bother other folks, or is it just me? Yeah. You good? Okay. Okay, here we go. How's that? Is that better? No? Okay, good. Sorry. Thank you so much. Our forum will follow this. Our forum will follow this format. Each candidate will give a 2-minute opening statement. Candidates will take 2 minutes to respond to 4 questions drafted by the Woodland League of Women Voters Services Committee. This will be followed by a 1.5-minute responses to as many audience-submitted questions as time permits. Audience questions will be screened and prioritized by the League of Women Voters volunteers to avoid duplication and ensure a range of topics and issues. Our timekeeper, Mary Helen Seeger, will advise candidates when they're halfway through their presentation, when they have 15 seconds and remaining, and when their time is ended. Finally, candidates will be given a 1.5 minute for a concluding statement. Again, the timekeeper will prompt the time left. Please refrain from applauding or in any other way demonstrating support or non-support for any candidate until the end of the forum. Attendees causing disruption will be asked to leave. At the end of the forum, we will ask applause for both candidates. Now, audience, you received index cards as you entered the building. You are encouraged to submit questions for the candidates. They must be related to the Office of School Board Members, and the guidelines are on the screen. Also appear on the back of your survey you received when you entered. We will combine duplicates, eliminate inappropriate questions, including negative remarks, rude language, or personal attacks. Volunteers will collect these questions until 6:25. Onward and forward, we will have our opening remark by Mr. Whitaker.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. My name is Jake. I grew up here in Woodland. I'm a proud graduate of Woodland High School. And for the last 4 years, I've had the honor of serving on the Woodland Joint Unified School Board. And 4 years ago, I stepped up to serve on the board because I want one thing, and it's because I want Woodland to be known for having great public schools. Strong schools are an integral part of a strong community. And my promise to you, as an elected official, is that I work hard every day to make that vision become a reality. That's what I've done for the last 4 years. It's what I'm going to do for the next 4 years. We've gone through some very difficult times during the past few years, but we've also made some significant progress during my tenure on the board. We've prioritized mental health services for students. We've invested COVID relief funds in academic support for our students. We've expanded summer learning opportunities. We have expanded after-school programming in a way that's very significant for our families. We have launched an aggressive early childhood literacy initiative. We have raised compensation to retain and attract quality employees in our district, and we've done it while maintaining a strong fiscal footing. We passed the first school bond in 20 years, and we're finally starting to make some progress on some of those long-standing facilities issues that we've had in our district. But we also have to be honest about the challenges that we face. The COVID pandemic put a lot of our students behind the curve, and we must address the ongoing challenges in public education with the same sense of urgency that we responded to COVID-19 with. If we do that, I believe we will succeed and create long-term sustained progress in our district. That is why I'm running for a second term on the board, because I want to continue that work. And I hope to earn your support to serve a second term. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Ms. Mcdonald, your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here tonight. I believe that literacy is the greatest gift you can give a child. Literate children can learn anything they put their minds to because they can read about it. So that would be a focus of mine. I also believe that it is the responsibility of a trustee to represent the families that are in the district and the community that the district serves. And I bring this up because I have been on the receiving end of not having my voice heard as a member of the community. In April of 2022, the Woodland Joint Unified School District Sitting Board terminated the Memorandum of Understanding with the Woodland Parent Nursery School. This ended a 56-year relationship between Woodland Parent Education and a parent education program provided to the community by the district. The district did not communicate with a single family or a single community member prior to taking this action. So I am here tonight to offer an alternative. I am here tonight to offer families and community members who would like a board who listens to and is responsive to community requests for action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Throughout the evening, we will be alternating, or we will get the questions alternate between two people.
Oh.
So they both have a... Hello. There we go. That help? Hello? There we go. All right. Thank you. Sorry for my microphone inadequacies here. So throughout the evening, we will alternate between the two candidates of the questions, so they have each a turn. Now to the League of Women Voters questions. Maria Lago led a team of league members who were educators in drafting these questions. Subsequently, Lorna Karoff and Richard DeLiberty sorted and prioritized them. The candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to those questions. The first question, please list your top 3 priorities for improvement in the district over the next 4 years. Mr. Whitaker.
Thank you. So my number 1 priority is that we focus on improving in our core academic areas of reading and mathematics. We have a lot of great things going on in Woodland schools, but we have historically underperformed when it comes to those standardized testing scores. And we need to make sure that we are providing every child with what they need to excel academically. That means setting a strong foundation with early childhood literacy and a strong English language learner program. It means providing our students and our families with the supports that they need so that their child can engage fully in that education. It means promoting family engagement in their child's education. It means delivering classroom instruction in a way that's relevant and rigorous for our students. The second priority would be addressing our facilities needs while making progress on making our schools safer. It's no secret that we've got a lot of older schools here in Woodland. I recently proposed that the district begin preparing long-range capital improvement plans so that we can identify facilities projects and be more strategic, more intentional about how we're chipping away at these issues. We have identified $600 million worth of needs in our district when it comes to facilities, and that's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that gets solved overnight. But we also need to make sure that the funds that were approved by the voters in Measure Y are spent responsibly in a way that makes meaningful progress. And the third priority is that I care a lot about making improvements in special education and serving our most vulnerable students. And especially when it comes to special ed, they are our most vulnerable students. And we need to make sure that we're providing our students, our families, and our teachers with the supports that they need to be successful, regardless of the circumstances of their lives.
Ms. Mcdonald, the same question.
Literacy is also a very near and dear to my heart. I believe that creating a literate child is a pathway to success and empowers that child for the remainder of his or her life. From what I can tell, the shortest route to improving literacy is to train teachers in effective literacy teaching methodologies. In this way, Mississippi was the only state in the Union that was able to effectively raise their literacy test scores. And unfortunately, this district test scores are not very different from the Mississippi test scores. A second real focus of mine is numeracy. And you know, a child should be able to generally know what their paycheck is and whether or not their rent and their food can come out of that paycheck. And I am not sure that at this time the district is accomplishing that goal. And finally, as I alluded to in my opening comments, I really cannot stress enough the importance of communication and representation of the needs of district families, whatever those needs may be. Thank you.
The second question, who should be responsible for making decisions about curriculum and instruction? And what should the school board's role be in establishing best practices? Mr. Whitaker?
We're alternating, right? So
Oh.
it would be her turn to go first.
Sorry.
Oh,
McDonald's, I'm sorry.
okay. So I would like to preface my remarks by saying that people have been arguing over what to teach children and how to teach children since at least the time of Plato. So Mr. Whitaker and I may not be able to satisfactorily resolve this question in the next 4 minutes. Having said that, the school board has the ultimate discretion in choosing a curriculum. And at this time, the publishing companies come, they give a little spiel to the board and the teachers. A few teachers pilot the programs, and then they come back to the board and make a recommendation. I would suggest that the parents and the community be included in this. And the reason that I would suggest it is that it's no secret that the district is hemorrhaging families. Students are leaving, families are going elsewhere, whether it's to homeschool or to other districts, and they are not coming back. And perhaps the shortest way and the fastest way to address that problem is to, first of all, acknowledge that it's happening, acknowledge that there are some dissatisfied families who are taking their ball and bat and going elsewhere, and then allow those families a say in what their children are being taught, and hopefully improve the testing results. So I believe that the school board should represent the needs of the community and make decisions accordingly. Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker?
Thank you. So the school board does have the final vote on whether to adopt new curriculum. Our curriculum is also based on standards that are set by the state of California. The role of the board really is to ensure that there is an appropriate and transparent public review process for the adoption of new materials. This year we're going to be adopting new textbooks for our history and our science curriculum. And it's very important that we do that because materials become outdated over time, and unfortunately our district has fallen behind when it comes to replacing those materials with things that are more relevant, and it's something that our board has an increasing level of attention on making sure that we're addressing that issue. And it's very important to me that we do update that curriculum regularly so that we're providing our students with the education that they need and deserve. And when it comes to best practices, we need to make sure that that review process is inclusive. It needs to include the teachers that are impacted, who are going to be delivering that material. It needs to include the students who are going to be receiving that material, and it needs to include the families of those students as well, and our community. And so when you go through a textbook adoption, you make the materials available, and you consider several different textbooks simultaneously. And you make those materials available to the public, so members of the public who are interested can go and review them, and they can raise concerns and bring them to the board. And that is all part of the process, and the board's role is to make sure that that process is upheld and that it is inclusive and transparent.
The third question is, what should the district do to address the impact of the COVID pandemic on students, both academically and emotionally? What steps will you take to help schools manage the next pandemic? Ms. McDonald? Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it starts with acknowledging just fundamentally how difficult the last few years have been. But for me, this isn't a hypothetical question. We've been doing a lot in Woodland to address the academic and emotional impacts that COVID has had on our students. Again, we've launched an aggressive K-3 early childhood literacy initiative. We've invested in academic intervention and credit recovery opportunities for our students. We've increased the number of school counselors. We've increased the number of mental health specialists. We have integrated social emotional learning into our curriculum. We've hired social workers to help support our families. We've expanded our summer enrichment programs. We've expanded the availability of after-school programming and tutoring. And when we look at the test data from spring 2022, we see that the academic impacts of COVID were significant, and it's important for us to be honest about that as leaders in education. The number of students meeting standards in 11th grade, which was the only grade that was tested last year, has gone down. Before that, we were making progress in improving our literacy scores year over year. So to address this, we are currently conducting comprehensive reviews of our English language arts and mathematics curriculum so that we can develop a comprehensive literacy plan and numeracy plan. And those plans will identify strategies and investments that we need to make as a district in order to improve instruction in those areas. When it comes to a future pandemic, there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to that conversation. When we were first navigating COVID, we didn't have a playbook to run by. But we had to meet a steep learning curve. And my key takeaways are that it's important to understand how the disease is transmitted, what the effective mitigation strategies are, what the resources you need to implement those mitigation strategies are, and to communicate effectively with the public. And I believe that preparing for a future pandemic, it means internalizing and acting on the lessons that we've learned from our experience managing COVID-19 for the last 2 years.
Ms. McDonald?
Thank you. COVID. With respect to social emotional learning, the single best way to help children who are struggling with social emotional learning is through free, unstructured time during which they are allowed to play. So when children play, they take risks, and a risk can look like climbing to the top of a building that you could fall off of and break your arm or your head or something. But it can also look like a social risk or an emotional risk for perhaps reaching a hand out in friendship to someone you are not sure how they're going to receive that. And any therapist will tell you that allowing children to play allows them to heal, because that's how they process information. And I would say that the single shortest, most effective way for the district to address the social emotional damage that has been done by COVID is to allow the children time for unstructured play during the day. With respect to how to handle the next pandemic, that's an excellent question. Who knows, right? Get your crystal ball out. But I would say that the best thing to do is to avail ourselves of the myriad of federal and state grant funding that is available to plan for just such an eventuality, and build on what we have learned over the past 3 years, and use that funding to make a better plan for next time, in the event there is a next time. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I should announce that this is the time for you to submit your questions. I'm talking to the audience, I'm sorry. Up to what we've done right now. So there will be people out here collecting your questions, so please, if you have a question, give it to me. Okay. Let's go to the fourth question. Given recent mass shooting events in schools, what does the Woodland Joint Unified School District need to do to prepare their staff, students, and parents for such an event? Mr. Whitaker?
I went first last time.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Let me know what I should do next. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McDonald, sorry.
So I would suggest a two-pronged approach to preparing Woodland for a violent attack. Although it pains me to even think about that in our community. And I honestly feel that this district has done a very good job up until now addressing this. But I will do my best to add my 2 cents. The first thing is to have a very robust emergency response plan in place that the teachers and the staff and the first responders and the local police are all very familiar with and well versed in. Not necessarily drills, because those can be quite depressing and traumatic for the people participating in the drills, but certainly to have a plan in place that the adults know what to do should something happen on campus. The second part of the approach is really more of a preventive measure, and that is to identify threats according to the, hold on just a second, the University of Virginia Comprehensive Assessment Guideline, which gives schools a tool to differentiate between a threat for serious violence and a threat of, simply anger or something like that. And it allows the students to work toward a resolution and really reduces violence on school grounds. Thank you.
The next question is from the audience.
Oh, no.
Excuse me. Go ahead. And
Okay.
yeah, I'll get it down eventually.
Okay.
Again, the mass shooting question.
Yes,
Mr. Whitaker.
thank you. Yeah, so I want to start by letting Woodlands families know that I take this issue very, very seriously, and that's why at the August 23rd board meeting, I introduced a board resolution in support of improving school safety district-wide. And that resolution tasked our district safety committee with conducting comprehensive assessments at all of our school sites in partnership with the Woodland Police Department to identify safety gaps. And it specifically calls out the following best practices, which are based on research that has been done to prevent mass shootings in schools. We need to address Woodland's open campuses and implement stricter access control measures. We need to replace locks district-wide to ensure that every classroom is able to be locked from the inside in the event of a lockdown. Assessing our security camera gaps. Conducting regular emergency campus safety trainings in accordance with best practices that avoid traumatic impacts. And strengthening our threat assessment protocols to detect behavioral red flags in our students that are in accordance with best practices like the University of Virginia model. And these are practices that, when you put them together, will make our schools safer, but there is no one-size-fits-all solution to this problem. The board has committed to investing $5 million in funding from the Measure-Wise School Bond to improve school safety, and those funds will be used to support the recommendations that the District Safety Committee comes back to us with, and the priorities that are outlined in the resolution that the board passed unanimously that I authored and introduced at the board. And there was an incident a couple years back at Woodland High School where we had a false report of an active shooter. And I remember, the fear, the anticipation of tragedy between the time where we got that initial report and the time that we found out it was a false threat. And so I want people to, I've felt it deeply in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the questions submitted by our audience. First question that I have is, with regard to the planned process of redrawing attendance boundaries and considering that not all families have the ability to drive their kids to school, what would you say is an acceptable distance for a child to walk or bike to their home school? Mr. Whitaker? No.
Yeah, we changed the order, right? Or do you want me to go first?
Go ahead. Go first.
Okay. Yeah, so when it comes to redrawing attendance boundaries, it's a challenging question because we haven't updated our attendance boundaries in quite a long time. They still have Grafton Elementary School that was closed down in Knights Landing and then converted into a charter school as part of our attendance boundary map. And so the question of what is an acceptable distance, that's really hard to come up with a number here on the spot, frankly, because we have to acknowledge that our schools are built in fixed locations, and so we need to draw those boundaries in accordance with trying to make it as convenient as possible for our families to get their children to school. But building new schools, that's something that takes tens of millions of dollars in order to accomplish, and it's not something that our district has historically had the resources to do, or that you would even want to overbuild out your district. And so those are some of the factors that come into play when you're considering the redrawing of attendance boundaries, and you also have to balance out the populations of each schools. Right now we have a pretty significant issue where we have a lot more students at Pioneer High School and Douglas Middle School than in Woodland High School and Lee Middle School. So that's something that we need to address. but we need to do it in a way that is inclusive of community input in that process as we go through that process.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald?
I think everybody should be able to walk to school. I loved walking to school with my daughters. It was just a wonderful start to the day. And I don't know, a mile, I think we walked maybe 1.5 miles or 2 miles. It was kind of far, but it was nice. It was a good, it was a nice way to start the morning. For older children who can bike, if there's a bike route, then that's obviously you could go a bit farther. But yeah, I think it's very important that children should be able to walk to school. It makes them feel as though they are part of the community that they are in fact a part of. So, thank you.
Thank you. There's a little announcement here that I should give, and that is in the guidelines for audience questions that's in your handout. There was a mistake here. In there, they have that the question should be brief, concise, applicable, etc., and that should relate it to the Office of District Attorney. I believe that's not correct. So,
Certainly not running for that.
no, we shouldn't do that. The next question that we have is community concerns. What do you think are the most relevant concerns of the community members of your area? And do you think those concerns were represented adequately on the school board the past 4 years? Ms. McDonald.
For me, no. My concern was the Woodland Parent Nursery School, and I did not feel my voice was heard. And I don't know how many others had the same feeling, but no, I did not feel that the trustees heard what the community had to say.
Thank you. Mr. Whitaker?
Yeah, so listening to community concerns is a very important part of the job when you serve as a trustee, but you also have to be cognizant of the fact that there are a diverse array of people with different concerns, different perspectives, and different issues that you have to take into account. And I think that what I've heard in my time serving on this job really is that families want their kids to go to good schools. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about making sure that their children have access to the opportunities, that they can explore different career paths and opportunities, that they can go through an education and come out the other side ready to be a functioning adult in the world today. And it's about, allowing our families to see their hopes and dreams for their children in the work that we do as trustees. And so I won't say that every moment has been perfect. It's always a challenge to balance the diversity of perspectives in a community, no matter where you serve. But I think that our board has done a good job of putting our students first, and that's ultimately what our community wants to see.
Thank you. The next question, what have you done or what could you do to ensure that the concept of equality is an important part of the Woodlands Joint Unified School District values?
Okay.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yeah, so the concept of equality, I think in order to have equal access to educational opportunities, that you need to take an equitable approach to meeting the needs of our students, because every student comes from a different background, from a different circumstance. They may have challenges at home that prevent them from fully engaging in their education. And we can't control that as a district. What we can control is what we do while they're here. And that's to make sure that they are supported, that they are in an inclusive environment that accepts them for who they are, and that they have the opportunity while they're here, that they're fed, that that their social emotional needs are being met so that they can fully engage in their education, so that they can take advantage of the programs, the opportunities that we offer to our students. And so that's what it means to me to have equal, the concept of equality in an education system is having equal opportunities to access, which requires an equitable approach to serving students.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald, same question?
This is an issue that is very near to my heart and personal to me, and I really would have to hearken back to literacy and the importance of literacy. We have employees, none of whom are English language speakers, English as a first language. They all grew up speaking English, and they are functionally illiterate, and it makes it impossible for them to ever really do anything with themselves. And until you have a school district that is teaching children to read, it is going to be really difficult for those children to ever do very much of anything. So I really think that a relentless focus on literacy and teaching children to read is the most equitable way to treat everyone. Thank you.
Next question. What should be done to improve our student scores in reading, writing, and mathematics? Ms. Mcdonald.
Well, in reading, as I honestly am not sure why the reading scores are so low in the Woodland Joint Unified School District. The teachers that I know, and I know a few, I don't know every teacher, but every teacher that I've ever met has been very passionate about his or her profession, and desperately wants the children in the classroom to succeed, and somehow it's not happening. And like I said, from what I can tell, the best way to improve literacy is to invest in teacher training, specifically for literacy. And then as far as the math is concerned, perhaps that gets back to a simple textbook curriculum issue that we had discussed earlier. There are some very well-known curriculum out there that meet the state standards. Saxon Math is a good example. And then, of course, the Common Core that meet the state standards while, effectively teaching the children to read and do math. Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker?
Thank you. So I've mentioned this a couple times tonight, and I appreciate you bringing up, that providing professional development for our teachers is a best practice when it comes to improving literacy, because that's exactly what we're focusing on right now in Woodland Joint Unified. We have, as part of our early childhood literacy initiative, we've hired teachers to serve as literacy coaches with our K-3 teachers. We have invested in increased hours for school librarians and given professional development to our teachers and to our librarians so that they can work hands-on with students, and we've hired classroom aides to work hands-on with our students in addressing early childhood literacy. That's something that I have a lot of excitement over, and it's something that I would like to see us build upon over the next 4 years. And when it comes to mathematics, we also, we need to focus on that as well. I mentioned earlier that we were doing a comprehensive review of our mathematics instruction and our literacy instruction. And I think that through that process, we need to identify the professional development that we need to provide for our teachers and to assess the curriculum. But there is a conversation statewide right now about what an appropriate mathematics curriculum is. And so until some of those questions are resolved, there are districts that are in somewhat of a holding pattern when it comes to adopting new materials in mathematics. But I look forward to, reviewing the conclusion of those review processes and acting on the recommendations of our professionals to improve instruction in both of those core areas.
Thank you. We have an extra question here from the League, and that has to do with arts and extras. Please state how you feel about the arts, clubs, sports, and other extracurricular programs, and what do they contribute to overall student performance and development? Ms. Mcdonald?
I think they're very important. I think the arts are very important. My husband ran the NorCal Cycling League for many years, and I watched the children that went, young adults really, that went through the league go from sort of, deer in the headlights to being these confident, happy, engaged young youth of today, the future, the next generation. And the League was a really big part of that. And I think that the clubs and the arts really add just a little je ne sais quoi to the day, and they really are the icing on the cake. You know, I mean, math is great, reading is important. Obviously, I think so. I've spent the last half hour talking about my feelings about that. But then you get to do the fun stuff. You get to, you know, sing if that's your passion, or ride your bike if that's your passion, or play a sport if that's your passion, and that really, you know, builds community and makes it all worthwhile. Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker?
Thank you. So I can speak about this from a very personal perspective. When I was a freshman in high school, my mother and my father were going through a divorce. I remember at the time I was very, you know, I was struggling emotionally as a teenager and going through all the other things that teenagers go through. But I participated in musical theater, and it gave me an opportunity to connect with other students, to make friends, to have an outlet that provided me with an opportunity to do something and just not focus on the other things that were going on in my life. And I think that was so valuable to me in growing up. And so I absolutely believe, you know, visual and performing arts are an essential part of what our school district does. Research shows that participation in visual and performing arts increases academic success for students. And also when it comes to sports. Sports have that same sense of community. And it's very important that we support our athletic programs and support our students in being able to thrive in those programs while also supporting them academically so that they're fully engaged in their education as well. And so I think that all of those things, clubs, et cetera, they're all an integral part of the educational experience for students of all different backgrounds and interests. Thank you.
Thank you. We've reached a point in this forum where we're going to ask for the closing statements from our candidates. Mr. Whitaker, you're first.
Okay. So, I want to start by saying that there's a lot at stake over the next 4 years when it comes to public education. We're facing a number of challenges: learning loss, mental health crisis, staffing shortages, aging facilities, and working every day to meet the evolving needs of our students and our families in a community that's very diverse. Being on the board, it hasn't been an easy ride. We have to make difficult decisions. We have to consider a diverse variety of perspectives and needs and concerns. But at the end of the day, we have to make decisions that are in the best interest of our students. That's what it's all about. And over the past 4 years, I've worked hard to make progress in improving the quality of public education here in Woodland. I've appreciated the opportunity tonight to talk about my record. I'm here because I want to get the job done for our students. They deserve a high-quality education, and our district needs experienced leadership to navigate through the challenges that we're facing today. That's why I put the time, the energy, and the effort to do this and to be here. I'm committed to being part of the solution. I understand the urgency of this moment. I'm here because I'm dedicated to serving our students, our families, and our communities. I have a strong track record of building consensus for positive change on the board, and I hope to have your support in the upcoming November election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. Ms. Mcdonald, your closing statement.
I wanted to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. I was so excited to come and speak to anyone who's interested, and I was so excited by the questions. You know, I really was wondering if anyone's paying attention to what's going on, if I'm the only one who reads the paper and looks around and sees what's happening. And I think the answer is yes. I think that the community is very much involved and very much paying attention. And I would like to be a voice and an advocate for the community and for district families on the board. And I feel like that has been missing. And I would very much like to bring the focus back to just teach the kids to read. Just teach them to read. Make sure they can read. Make sure by the time they're a freshman or junior in high school, they can read and they can understand what they're reading. And by about the 3rd or 4th grade, you know if that's going to happen. So I would respectfully ask for your vote in November as a voice for the community and district families. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, this concludes our Area 2 School Board Candidate Forum. Please join me in a round of applause for our candidates. Before I go, I'd like to tell you about the Voter's Edge, an unbiased voting resource created to facilitate your voting decisions with impartial information. Search Voter's Edge on the internet and enter your address for information on your ballot. Thank you to our partner, Dale Dennis, from Woodland TV, who is broadcasting and streaming and recording this forum tonight, which is important for your friends who are not here. They can still see this forum. It will be available online. Look for the link at the Woodland League of Women Voters website, and to the Woodland Joint Unified School District, for providing this facility and AV support. Also, thank you to the candidates for coming and many League of Women Voters members who made this event possible. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, for your respectful attention and thoughtful questions. Your informed participation is critical to our democracy. Please complete the survey you were handed when you entered the building. The League of Women Voters members will collect them as you leave. Now, a personal thank you for your patience for me on losing track here, but it seemed to work out. So, but more important, you folks had a chance to express what you stand for, and that's what this is all about, and that's what these people want to hear. Not me, them. We only have about 20 minutes before we have to exit this room for the next forum, so please leave the room quickly and safely. If you wish, you are welcome to stay for the Area 7 forum, which starts at 7:20. Please take conversations outside so that we can have a smooth transition to the next forum. Thank you to the audience for being here in Woodland, here in this room, and also thank you the viewing on tonight. Okay, thank you.